Good. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry. Let's kick off. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Chris Ranger. I'm the chairman of Denmead Parish Council, and this is my first time of chairing the Safer Neighbourhood panel meeting, which is an informal meeting. The last meeting, for those of you that may or may not have been in attendance, was on the 24th of April this year. And we as a council decided that it was important, and rightly so, to continue with the Safer Neighbourhood plan, Safer Neighbourhood panel meeting, because we as a council feel it's important to continue to dialogue with the relevant authorities, the people, the residents, etc., to get feedback from everybody to understand what's on people's minds, what's on the views, etc., I stress it's important. I stress it's an informal discussion tonight, but we are taking some notes and minutes accordingly, and they will be published in due course. Okay. But before I kick off, there is a formal agenda that I think. I see that everyone's got a copy of that formal agenda, which is great. So thank you for that. I was elected chair in May of this year, in May 2025, and it's my pleasure and privilege to lead the council. But as I said, this is my first session as a Safer Neighbourhood panel, and I'm keen to understand from the residents, but also from the experts that we have amongst us, to understand what's on people's minds, views about what we need to do differently or the same, or continue as for Denmead as a village. And that's what the importance of tonight is all about. It's about dialogue, it's about informal dialogue, but it's also about listening and understanding and what we need to do to move forward. Okay. So first of all, thank you for taking the time out this evening to attend. And I've got a couple of apologies just to read out, if I may, just to sort of make it slightly formal, but it's important because we did send out over 18 invitations, just so that you know, to various organisations and people. But the people that did apologise for not being able to make this evening was Donna Jones, the police commissioner, that didn't make an apology, Gary Brown, the fly tipping officer, and councillors Bevan, Berry and Clay, due to various work commitments accordingly. So they're the official apologies that we've received this evening, just so that everyone's aware of those, okay? I'm really pleased that we've got some guests, I say on the top table, that sounds wrong, but joining us this evening, who I've not had really the chance to meet officially and properly before, but welcome Alex, and welcome Dawn and Neil accordingly. So thank you very much indeed for joining us on this wet, windy, horrible, cold-looking night. And we'll have an opportunity to hear from yourselves in terms of your updates and reports. And you can give perhaps a little brief intro about yourself and your bio and whatever else in terms of why you're here and what you hope to get out of it as well, if that's okay. Yeah? Because I think, like me, I'm learning very fast and quickly, and it's important that everybody gets an understanding about who's who, what's what, where's where. And then once we've had the updates from the various the guests, and then we'll open it up for questions and comments accordingly, if that's okay. All right. Any questions or comments so far? No? Okay. Great. In that case, in no particular order, Alex, I'm going to throw it straight into you because you're the last in, so you're the first to speak. No, I'm just joking. In terms of, could you just introduce yourself to the audience at the table and to explain who, what, where and how, for those of you that don't know you, and then perhaps just give us a brief report from your good self, if that's okay.
That's absolutely fine, yeah. So,
thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you. So Alex Rennie, I'm the Policing Crime Commissioner. I'm fairly new in the role, so I started about 3 weeks ago now as Donna's deputy, so take it easy on me, I'm still learning as much as I can do. She's obviously trusted me enough now to send me out on my own, so that's so scary thought. So I don't know if any of you here have met Donna or are aware of the role of the Policing Crime Commissioner, nodding heads I think, so I won't need to go into too much detail about what the role of the Policing Crime Commissioner does. But just to say, we Donna is big believers, of getting out, talking to as many people as possible, and being a real, I think, a visible face or in the Isle of Wight. And part of that is coming to parish council meetings and listening to what's happening on the ground. What we're there to do is we're there to hold chief constable to account in the role that Donna looks after. So any issues that are going on, any troubles, problems, antish behaviour, anything else like that, we can come back and we can highlight those with the force. Donna, as sort of a position of her sort of key priorities, is getting more police out onto the on the ground. So I know that she's launched last year her local police scheme, so everyone now has got a named police officer. So they've one here covering the Denby patch, and so any issues or concerns, you should be able to contact your local bobby, and we're currently still on a big uptick of trying to recruit more police officers, more visual policing. So Donna, when Donna became Police Crime Commissioner, she was after 650 police officers. She's now upped that target to 815 more police officers. I'm pleased to say that's going very well. We're now recruiting, and to get to the 815, we have to recruit 32 new police officers a month, which we're now just about starting to hit that target of police officers being recruited. So that, I think, will hopefully start to mean you'll start to see more visual policing, particularly in the Neighbourhood team. And actually, one of the challenges we've found in policing is that whilst with when you get pressure on policing, you get protests, when you get challenges around some of the serious crimes, you get what happens is often the neighbourhood police officers ones that are extracted out and to have to deal with so many problems. So more police officers mean more opportunity to protect that sort of frontline visual policing, and that's what we're trying to achieve for you at the moment. So I'll sort of leave it at that in terms of I'm just here really to listen and taking notes and feedback, and I'm very happy to follow up any problems you've got here from the community. I'll feed that back into the force and I'll get your local police officers involved if needed. So thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, then Dawn, perhaps I could ask you to kick off.
Okay,
Thank you.
Hi, I'm new in my role. I'm a new antisocial behaviour patrol officer for Winchester district-wide. My previous role was a police community support officer. I worked in Winchester City Centre for 19 years, so I've got quite a vast amount of experience. This opportunity come up, so I took it. I've been in this role for about five weeks now. Part of my role is to undertake proactive patrols across the whole district to improve feelings of safety, also to show high visibility presence, reassurance, and where I can use enforcement powers to deter crime and antisocial behaviour in the area. I also carry out investigations, reports of antisocial behaviour that involve private residents within the community, where antisocial behaviour involves other housing providers. I work in partnership with them to try and resolve problems. I also attend community engagement events. I link in with other partnership agencies like all of the local neighbourhood policing teams, which I have a good link in with because I used to work with all of the Bishop's Wharf and Oxford and Winchester. So I'm quite embedded and I've got good links in all areas. Also, we're going through a restructure in the council. So the new community safety team, it was called Neighbourhood Servicing Team. It's now going to be called Community Safety Team. So it's going to be 4 people. It's made up of Sandra, who's the Sandra Tubman, who's the Community Safety Manager, Rebecca Hallett, who is the Community Safety Officer, Sarah Hyde, who is the Community Safety Project Officer, and then there's myself that does on the ground antisocial behaviour patrol officer. If anyone would like the community safety team contact details I emailed, then please I can pass it on
Sure.
to. So that's generally my my new role. So okay, so I'm new in post and that. but,
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Dawn.
Okay.
And congratulations on
Thank
your new
you.
role.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to working with you
Thank
going
you.
forward. Right? Thank you. And then finally, before we open it up perhaps for the sessions, and perhaps Neil, if I could ask you to give a brief update, please, from your perspective and an intro for the people who don't yet know you.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Neil Rushbicker. I'm the lead coordinator for the Neighbourhood Watch team here in the village. So since the last panel meeting, I attended a meeting with Roxford scheme to help establish a way of being able to work together and so that we can liaise and share resources and things like that, because one of the things at the moment is as far as the admin side of things is concerned, we're a bit thin on the ground, so we're looking for as much help as possible to help make the scheme more sort of aware to the public. I mean, we do events in the village during the summer. We use social media, but other than that, that's kind of it. There are people that contact me directly who are members of the scheme in the village, and we have been setting up new schemes, but we want to make it more proactive.
Excuse me.
I've also attended the PCSO police surgeries, but they're sort of, well, I'll come on to that in a second, which are then held fairly infrequently outside the co-op. I also attended an online meeting between Donna Jones and the new Chief Constable at a COPS meeting online, and basically the subjects that were being talked about were police visibility, rural crimes, engagement, and as ever antisocial behaviour, and local policing, and the continued introduction of local police officers. This is as you know, Neighbourhood Watch is divided up into small, schemes like the village scheme, but then there is the area, which is the whole of the Meon Valley, and I've had a few comments from the coordinator of that area, who has asked me to put the following points. And as I just referred to, the frequent beat surgeries, which we all consider to be poorly marketed and too short when they occur. They are now basically reduced to only half an hour, and they are now basically every 3-4 months, something like that. And I think it's, if we're going to continue with them, then I think they certainly need to be more productive, because basically we get a few children asking questions, and that's usually because I've given out some drawings or stickers or something like that. But really, as far as the PCSOs are concerned, occasionally you get 2 of them. I think their time could be much better used. So I don't know how we're going to be able to address that issue, because very few members of the public will come up and, apart from the odd issue on speeding, not much is so I think if we're going to make use of them, then I think we need to do something about that. The other comment was the very low visibility of the crime prevention patrols in and around our villages, which residents understand is linked to abstraction to other duties, which we understand that, because obviously there are always going to be priorities. But generally, I think the low numbers of officers and PCSOs, it reflects the fact that they are so stretched. and whilst the PCC are, very public in their promotion of local policing, I think on the ground we don't actually see, much evidence of that. Lack of replies to social media messages in general, which undermines, we feel, confidence when online reporting is done, because I think even though we're not talking about emergencies, but I think there is a general feeling that it's a bit like your comment goes into a black hole and nothing really much happens. So I think that is something that could well be improved upon if possible. But praise where praise is due. I mean, obviously, residents recognise that arrests from targeted crimes and the intelligence from those seems to be working very well, because the crime rate locally is, we are lucky, is very low. But I think it's the general day-to-day stuff that I think people are more concerned about. And I think it's that feeling of well-being of living in a community, which I think is something that we need to consider. So I think that is all from his report. Right. As far as the Denmead scheme is concerned, I think our membership remains steady, but we would obviously always like to have more. And I think, again, that will have, because of the partnership that Neighbourhood Watch does with the police, I think that is something that could be strengthened, but we would need more people to help administer the scheme to make that really happen, and to be able to engage with the public. There are the ongoing themes of there is a relatively low level of antisocial behaviour in the village, although I think obviously Creech Woods and other places are little hotspots. I don't know whether there's still a problem with the skate park and things like that, but generally speaking, it's fairly low level stuff, I believe. But having said that, there are, as I understand it, there are also a number of retail thefts, particularly from the co-op, and which I know is nationally is a massive problem for them. But I don't think it helps, particularly that they have a policy that they don't seem to follow up on them. I think they just take it as a hit, which I don't think sends out the right message. So, but and as I said earlier, we're trying to coordinate as much as we can with other groups in the area, so that we can be more effective. Right, I think that is other things that I've already. I think it's probably too early to say whether the speeding measures putting on Forest Road, unless there are any figures already, but it's probably a bit early. As to how effective that is, I don't know whether your experience has been the same, but I've used the road a number of times, and you do get that feeling that people are trying to beat you to it and sneak in before you do. So I hope that's not an accident waiting to happen. But it does. But whether it's slowed the traffic down altogether, I don't yet know. So I think that is probably it. The only other thing to mention is I've got lots of leaflets here if anybody is of interest. There's a particular Christmas, which I use the C word, for there are special guidelines as to what you can do to help protect yourself over the Christmas period, particularly if you're going away. If you're worried about trick-or-treating, I meant to bring some posters, but I didn't actually get them. But if you go onto the Hampshire Police website, you can download a poster from their website if you want to put people off from knocking on your door. And there are guidelines if you want to do a safe trick-and-treating, and obviously don't enter people's homes and that sort of thing. And other than asking anybody to volunteer, I think that's me done.
Thank you, Neil. Alex, is there anything that you'd
Yeah,
like to
I
comment?
can come back on a few points if that was
Sure.
okay, Chair. So, so thank you. That was a really helpful update, actually. And what I'll do is I'll certainly take away the points on the beat surgeries and I'll feed that back to the local teams and see if there's a better job they can do at advertising, perhaps, or getting the word out there that they're taking place. Go on.
Just
Yeah.
Hampshire alerts. I know their neighbourhood policing teams are trying to encourage people to sign up to Hampshire alerts, which will advertise the big surgeries. So I know that there's been a lot of effort from when I was a police community support officer. We were trying to knock on doors and see if people wanted to join Hampshire Alerts. So Hampshire Alerts is a big pull to advertise for what's happening, what's going on in your area. So that's something that could maybe be raised also.
Thank you, that's very helpful. No, that's very helpful, yeah. So just in terms of the sort of actually really point about the low visibility and the obstruction, which I sort of touched upon when I was speaking, and I think this is a point that I think that Donna, the Commissioner, and the Chief Constable sort of are jointly in agreement on, and in terms of when Donna launched her Local Bobby scheme, under the previous Chief Constable, there was the way it was set up. I think it's now being after a reflection of some time that perhaps there was too much focused emphasis put on putting bobbies into the sort of suburban and the city areas, and not enough focus on the rural areas. And so one of the conversations we've been having in terms of the budget for next year, in terms of trying to increase the police numbers, so trying to get more locals out onto the streets, is trying to remap some of the areas to ensure that we get more coverage for the villages. So we try and get more dedicated police officers into certain villages. I'm not going to guarantee that Denby is one of those villages, but one of the racial conversations that we're having with the chief, which is to say where if you've got an officer covering too many villages, let's try to make sure they've just got one or two villages to cover rather than 3 or 4, and that's where that uplift is going to be for next year. So every penny we try to squeeze out the budget, we can get onto recruiting more cops. The real focus around rural and villages in particular, because we're sort of seeing now as a big area where we need to do some more work around rural crime, getting the visibility up, and also tackling some of the challenges of the rural crime that's taking place. So I'll just pick up on the work around, so you mentioned about retail thefts, and so with Donna has launched, so it's called UK Pack, which is a sort of system that allows shops, including the Co-op, actually sign up into this, so they should be using it. System to basically report crimes, so theft, shoplifting. And it should be the idea is to make it as easy as possible for the shops themselves. So one of the feedback we always get from the shopkeepers is to say the amount of time it takes them to get everything together, the statements, the time it takes them away from the shop floor to report one theft, and the feeling that that's not going anywhere. So the idea is to make it as easy as possible. You use the app and you put your statement on there, you put your CTV on there, everything's uploaded in one go straight to the police, and Donna has funded that for a year, so shops have got a year's access to this UK Pack system, which is a sort of one-stop shop, if you like, to allow shop owners to report retail thefts. We are starting to see some real uptick in reporting of shoplifting, and that actually does show that it's working, because all of a sudden we're getting a spike, and actually we know there's not a spike again of shoplifting. So I think it does mean people are signed up to the app and they're using it. And actually, we've had some real high-profile cases recently of shoplifters being prosecuted. We've had some cases of serial offenders being nicked. Reports going around that they're coming around certain villages and places and immediately getting nicked, going to custody. And actually, we are seeing some work around some improvements. And I haven't got the figures to hand on what the numbers are, but there have been some improvements in recent months, particularly around the prosecution rates of shopping. That's really good. And then the final point was around the speed measures. I just wanted to sort of touch upon that. Donna has launched yesterday actually launched a new fund for speed cameras. One of the feedbacks we're often getting from parishes is there's really no support from building or putting in place new fixed speed cameras. Now, where it can work is so the cost it takes over the cost of installing the camera, and then there's an ongoing cost of maintaining it. So what we're saying is we will help fund the installation cost of the camera if the parish is willing to help sort of support the maintenance of it. So it costs £8,000 a year to do the calibration and maintenance and all of the ongoing compliance to make sure that the data is getting in is accurate enough to be given to the court so that can be used to prosecute any speeding offences. And there is obviously, it has to be some work done with the DfT and various and county council to make sure that there's compliance around those being in the right places. But we have now got a fund available from Donna to work with parish councils to install where there's a feeling there's a need for new speed cameras. So if that's something that Denby feels like the road and candidate one for that, then we can happy to speak to you further about how we can get on doing that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed. Good insights. One of the absentees or apologies for this evening was actually from Gary Brown. Gary Brown is the fly tipping officer from Winchester. But I've actually got a small update from Gary, and I'd like to just read it out if that's okay, because I think it's quite relevant. And it's actually, in my opinion, good news. So I think it's even more important to share good news in terms of everything that we're discussing. So if you could just bear with me, and I'll read it verbatim, and there is a link on there, and we'll make sure that it's published in the minutes accordingly for everyone to see afterwards. But the Gary officer, as I said, is the fly tipping officer for Winchester City Council. Unable to attend the meeting on 23rd, below is the link to the press release for the latest conviction. And you may be aware, or if you're not, and just to highlight, there was a particular conviction quite recently of a Portsmouth gentleman, excuse me, in Winchester City Council, who was convicted and a successful prosecution after some fly tipping was in Sheepwash Lane in Denmead. And it was quite a significant amount of fly tipping, and it was quite a big particular issue in the press, rightly so, and it was tracked all the way back to this particular gentleman who lived in Drayton, or does live in Drayton, I should say, not did live, but he may still do, I don't know, but certainly since July 2024. And based on that, we went back to Gary, and there's actually 3 new fly tipping cases that are in court, currently scheduled to be in court between now and the end of October. Which I think is actually quite a positive thing, because one of the things that I, and I'm sure that you guys accordingly, that we see on the social medias as well as everything else that comes into the parish, it is about the fly tipping in some of the mess that is left in the lanes or the woods or whatever else. So I just wanted to read that out because Gary isn't available. There is a link to read the whole article from the news and the various press articles, and it's quite a long page article, so I won't bother reading that out. But actually, I think it's a positive step, and it's a good news step, because things like that, I think, go a long way to help restore and help build the confidence accordingly that people are doing the right thing, given the right tools and everything else. So I just thought that was relevant to read out. So I just add that to the minutes, all right? Okay? Thank you. Thanks, Liz. Okay, so we've heard from the reps here. I mean, this part of the meeting really is any other questions or comments opens it up to the rest of the audiences. Really, you've had a little flavour from the guests that we've got this evening, and it's really just almost free format in terms of comments, questions, observations, concerns that any of you folks have got that hopefully between us either we can answer or not. And if we can't, then we need to take it away and action accordingly. And that's basically the rest of this evening's agenda, if that's okay. Okay, Paula. Oh, sorry.
I'm Councillor Nathan Smith, Winchester City Council.
Excuse me.
For Denmead and Newlands. Just to pick up on your point, Dawn, about the Hampshire alerts. They are very good. I do receive them, and every time that there is anything that relates to Denmead, I do post it on the Denmead community page. And there's 14,000 people that are members, even though the population is nowhere near that number. So we do put the alerts out to a large number of people. I think the issue is, Alex, that there just aren't very many surgeries in Denmead for us to promote.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key point.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Good point. So,
Thank you very much. Very grateful to everyone's updates and for all the hard work that everyone is putting in on the council and at the PCC's office and within the police force itself. I was pleased to meet Alexis in Parliament a few weeks ago, actually, with other Hampshire MPs. Very useful to get a strategic update from him and Donna. I wanted to raise a few issues that have come into my mailbox, which I'm sure you're well aware of, but I want to see if there's been any progress. I had a visit to Meon Valley Police Station. I was very pleased to meet with Stuart Ross there. One of the main causes for concern locally has been the travellers on plane addicts. And I wonder whether there's any update you can provide us with in terms of progress or, is there any progress update that you're aware of? Because this has become a serious problem, and this requires, I've gone to Winchester City Council, they've told me that they're not going to enforce. It seems that we need to go down the police angle, not the planning angle, and, it's unfair, it's wrong, it's causing a blight on the community. There's been cases and reports of intimidating, harassing, and potentially illegal behaviour. Patricia Stallard has been working on this matter with local residents for years. It would really be wonderful if we could resolve this, what I say is a chronic and serious matter.
I've just been in the role for 5 weeks, so I'm trying to put myself out more district-wide. So if I give you my contact details, if you can send me an email, I can then approach the appropriate departments and to see what's going on with the police and how it links in as well. So, all right, is that okay? So if I give you my contact afterwards, then if you send me an email, I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, so I haven't got an answer.
you can put that through the minutes as well, by the way, Dawn. You can put that
Okay,
through the minutes,
please. Yeah,
I've got a
thank
couple
you.
of other
Sure.
issues as well.
Yeah.
I've got one. Two was just on, again, it's not really relevant to Denby, but it would be relevant to your patch, is shoplifting and the efficacy of the UK pack. Now, Wickham Co-op has had a shoplifter daily for, again, years. My husband actually witnessed a shoplifting incident a couple of weekends ago, and he was buying some milk. And now the co-op is obviously one of the originating members of the UK pack. When I went in to speak to the shop manager there, he wasn't aware of the UK pack. And they've got such a, I feel so bad about it. They are sort of resigned. There are no muscular security guards. We've got a lady, I'm supposed to ladies, but there are people who are not equipped to take on what is quite a burly, intimidating man. Comes in on a daily basis, kind of takes a lot of cleaning materials, it seems. Not booze, not fags, cleaning materials is what he seems to want to do, take. They know where he lives, they know who he is, and and they almost expect them on a daily basis. Why are we living with this? And is there anything that can be done which is more proactive?
That would fall under Neighbourhood policing team for
Yeah.
criminal activity,
Yeah.
more so. The shoplifting pack, I've only found out about the new pilot scheme through Alex today.
Yeah, do you want me to go? I mean,
I'm putting you on the spot, Dawn.
So I can tell you what I used to do in the city centre, because it was quite regular, constant, and I can give you my experience from coming from the city centre, how we would action it. But I'll let Alex answer first, and then I'll explain from a police side, although my role is totally different now. Mine's more engagement, making people feel safe, as well as tackling antisocial behaviour at the low end. But we do work up with the police for criminal behaviour orders and stuff, which I can go on to that. But Alex, if I let you answer that.
No, that's fine. So I think you've always spoken to about this as well. I've been sort of like half-person conversation kind of around it. You are right. In the co-op part with the partners of the scheme. So it's kind of disappointing that sort of the particular score of Wickham are not aware about it and not using it. And I'm pretty sure Donna has raised that with the co-op. One of the things that John has been disappointed by is kind of the sort of marketing that you could have done post her spending money with them to sort of promote the scheme or to buy the funding. So what she's working quite hard with them to do is to really up their sort of marketing of it. So that will hopefully build the awareness for some of the shop owners. So even if the co-op perhaps aren't doing a good enough job of sort of training their staff, at least because I would like to sort of see on social media adverts for certain people who say are you fit for shoplifting, and then that's straight in their face in their social media pages, so they're clicking aware that Eco Pack exists, and there's a scheme there that they could be using, because actually they really should be getting onto it, because there have been some really good sort of high profile sort of people in Pull Away that have been serial offenders off the back of Eco Pack, which would be really good. I was down in Hampton Station last week, and they've just brought a big haul of sort of an illegal shop that someone had set up. There was sort of this black sort of a dark store, if you like, of stolen goods, and it's taken up about 3 cells at Hampton Police Station just of I think about 400 grams worth of stolen goods. They are trying to tackle it, and I think Eco Pack will make a difference in terms of doing it, obviously using intelligence. But we have to. It's a difficult message to get, because I understand, because people find it frustrating if they report and they're not getting an answer. But the more intelligence, the more we can, build the CCTV cameras, pinpoint this is the person. The easier it will be for us to go to the CPS, get the charge, and hopefully pop them away. And that's the only way you can do it. And actually, I think I said that example with the police when we recorded them a couple of weeks ago about sort of package and the effectiveness was, there was one person who was being almost arrested off the back of pack every single day, and frankly, if you're nicked, every day for a week, then that will eventually stop you from doing it. So I don't know. I mean, particularly Water Wickham, probably needs to be a little bit of training from the co-op store to say to use it, but I'm happy to pick up any points of John as well, and obviously how we can help promote it, particularly interesting the cleaning product ones, actually, because in my old ward in Westleigh, they actually stopped selling the clean products off the shelf. You go behind the shelf and buy it, and it's because it's like high value products that it's easy to grab. It's what I think it's like, it can be like 10, 15 pounds, can't it, to buy cleaning detergent. So actually, in terms of your value of something to grab for what it's worth, it's probably the highest value thing they nick. So actually, cleaning product is the highest. What is for meat, sort of steaks and stuff, and after that is actually, it's a cleaning detergent, probably the highest value item they can easily grab, but it's worth most.
Thank you. Last point.
Sure.
On speeding cameras, again, residents contact me, I'm sure local Denby Council about Forest Road, and I'm really throwing it out for views, really, because some local residents in Forest Road have complained to me about speeding, and I wondered whether that was a
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar, but just in case not everyone else may be, there's recently been some installed pinch points. I call them pinch points, but I guess that's probably not the quite term. Priority points. Similar to what Hambledon have got in terms of the priority giveaway points. I think there's 3 down the Forest Road. There has been mixed reviews, to be fair, positive and negative, as you'd imagine. But it's early days, I think it's fair to say, because they've only recently been completed in the last few weeks. And I think it's early days to declare victory or defeat. But certainly they've been installed. They're there. And I think it's a case of let's closely watch the repercussions, if any, accordingly, because there were some concerns about the increase of through traffic through the Denmead High Street or the Hambledon Road as opposed to Forest Road. There's one particular priority way that borders on a T-junction with Thursley Road, which is a slight awkwardness in terms of coming out. And we've actually had a couple of residents write into the council and ask for various information accordingly, specifically about those priority points. So I think it's early days, Suella, I think, but we're watching it and monitoring it closely. Does it improve or decrease? I don't know. I think it's too early. That's all we can do at the moment is to watch this space, I think.
Were they put in by the county council?
Yes,
worked
yes.
for 7 years
Yeah.
with Patricia. Ian was chair of Highways and I was chair of council, working with Patricia and Hampshire County Council. We worked for 7 years. They did a trial. They've done several road surveys where they've done speed counts as well as traffic counts. They also did speed and traffic counts on Hambledon Road to do a comparison with Forest Road. To my surprise, actually, more traffic where it goes through Hambledon Road, and always has done, than goes around Forest Road, which was supposed to be the diversion route from going through the village. But more cars have always gone through the village. Yeah, I mean, time will tell. They did a trial over a year ago of putting them in at various points. They realised one was too close to the roundabout on Forest Road, the Hatchmore roundabouts, so they moved them accordingly. There were also some complaints from residents about queues outside of their houses, and it meant they couldn't exit their driveway, so Hampshire have adjusted where they are. And having driven down it numerous times, I can see that it has slowed the traffic down. And provided people are courteous and drive according to the road, there really shouldn't be any issues.
Great, well, thank you very much for getting those in school.
Okay. Ian?
Couple of points. We have an auto speed watch device, which until I left council, I monitored twice a day, probably taking 100 hits for speeding cars per day. Has that been monitored since I've left?
It hasn't been monitored. It's been transferred to be monitored. There was either a technical issue or a battery issue or something that was physically wrong with the device, apparently, that was checked out. It's now been checked out and is now, quote, I think, okay. The plan is to reactivate that as soon as possible, yes.
Well, I would suggest that it gets taken down, because this time of year it doesn't get enough sunlight to power the battery.
I'm not a technical person. I don't know whether it's a solar or not, so forgive me. But Sorry?
Having done it for multiple years,
Yeah.
I know how it works.
The intention is to reactivate that if it's not already activated, absolutely.
As I suggest, someone needs to monitor the battery on
Yes.
it, because it will be flat.
In addition to which, it's a tamper alarm.
There is a tamper alarm, which is, well, it was to my mobile, which is disabled.
Yep.
Unless someone else is monitoring it. As for the potential for a speed camera, I think the cost to a village of this size is obstructive on the ongoing costs. If we're talking of £8,000 a year, plus other bits and pieces, that is obstructive to a parish council. Plus also...
Good evening.
I don't actually see it speed that would work, and average cameras would be a better average speed camera are affected then, which has been improved along the 272.
The other thing with the auto speed watch is we've worked very closely with Donna's team, and Suella helped as well when we were Home Secretary with the police in actually getting them to accept the data from the auto speed watch device. They have literally in the last 4 or 5 months agreed to take the data and be part of the whole programme. So it's very disappointing that the parish are now not monitoring that. As Ian said, he did that twice a day for months, especially during the summer. That tends to be when you get a lot of the speeding anyway, because the weather's better. People tend to slow down when the weather's not so good. So it is disappointing that the parish aren't monitoring that now, bearing in mind we've now got engagement from the police.
Great, noted. Great, Patricia.
Thank you. Mine's not about speed cameras, it's about a number of points that I've been listening to this evening and I'm going to bring up. I'd like to bring up a couple of points and I'd also like to ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
Alex.
Talking.
Sorry, it's not Dawn. Dawn, you describe yourself as the antisocial behaviour patrol officer.
Yes.
How many of there?
There's only one.
That's what I suspected. So there's
Yes.
one of you to cover the whole district.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Busy person, right? That's my first question. Alex, there was another one for yourself. You did mention that Donna has very recently launched a fund for speed cameras. That's very much welcomed, I think. Will you be informing all parish councils of this?
Yeah, so
Wait, just a second. And I think you said that the police would cover installation costs, but I didn't quite hear what you said after that. Does that include maintenance costs as well?
no, so the maintenance
so
costs
just the
with
installation.
yes. So
Okay.
yeah, so all the parish councils, maybe sorry, you can confirm the receipt later, but as well, I think today or tomorrow there's a letter going out to the MPs, the councils, and the parish councils. That will be coming to your inboxes. If it's not coming today, it will be tomorrow, probably by the end of the week, with all the details of how the fund works and how parish councils can bid and work with us to implement it.
Okay. Right. Carrying on, I would endorse entirely what you say about rural crime, because in my division I've got several rural areas, rural villages, and the rural crime rate is just skyrocketing and costing many hundreds of thousands of pounds. And I know that when she first came into office, Donna said rural crime would be one of her priorities. I'd like to see some positive outcomes on that. I really, really would. So if you could feedback, I mean, Donna knows how I feel, but especially in the equestrian world, it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So please feedback that. Gary Brown, the City Council's flight officer, I met Gary. We've talked very regularly. I met him a couple of days ago. I won't give away any secrets, but he's got a really ingenious device for trapping fly tips.
Great.
He doesn't want us to give away any secrets, but it's really ingenious and it clearly works. So well done to Gary. And the last thing I'd like to mention is Forest Road. Forest Road is split into 2 sections, and we're really talking about the one section which starts at the Harvest Home and goes towards the Denley area. I don't think we're talking at the moment about the Harvest Road end going towards the Chairmakers. Going out.
That's correct, yeah.
All right. As
Excuse me.
has already said, that has now been installed. It was the initiative of the Parish Council, who collaborated with the County Council. The first proposal was to put 4
Priority pot.
Sorry?
4 items, priority items.
Yeah, 4. But I mean, that was clearly not workable because everybody would have been stopping every couple of hundred yards. So we managed to get that changed. There were a couple of other things I managed to get changed. And one of the things that I have to be quite honest with you, that road was built back in the 1980s as a ring road for Denmead to keep the traffic out of the village centre. And my big concern was that it would force the traffic through the centre of the produced because people did not want to stop every couple of 100 yards. I'm sorry, I don't talk in meters, I'm in the high school.
That's all right.
So I insisted that the County Council carried out a survey on Hambleton Road to monitor the traffic flow both before and after some work was being done and the road was closed for partially closed for a bit. And they monitored it throughout the summer of last year. And much to my surprise, it came out that there was no increase at all in traffic through the village centre. I didn't expect that, but that's what the result was. And they did carry out I say this tonight because I want to put any rumours to bed. I believe the parish council carried out a consultation with local residents, and the county council carried out a consultation with local residents as well. I'm not saying all the residents in Denmead, I'm talking about residents who are local to that part of Forest Road. Right? So that's where we are.
Thank you. Thank you. We had two guests join us a little later, so we've sort of got through some of the introductions. Apologies. Would you like to do just a quick intro of who you are? And I think I can work it out based on the list, but I don't want to assume anything. So thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for making the time in your busy schedules. But perhaps you could just give us a quick intro of who you are, just to make sure we've got the right names.
Yeah, I think you've got the organisation. You guessed that one right.
Yeah. Well, I guess so, but
I'm Steph. I'm the local PCSO for this area and quite a few others based at Bishop's Waltham. We're at an instance, so sorry a bit late, but yeah, I've covered this area amongst others for quite a long time now. Been there 10 years at Bishop's Waltham. So yeah, got quite good acknowledgement of quite a lot of things.
thank you, Steph. And you're based in Bishop's Waltham, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Jack, I'm one of the local beat bobbies for the area, and again, as I say, Steph said earlier, sorry we're late, there was an ongoing incident.
No problem. Yes.
Deal with that before coming here. So I apologise for that, but yeah, I've been in Bishop Waltham for 4 or 5 years now, with the local team, got local knowledge, been brought up in the Derby area, so I've got knowledge of Bishop Waltham that side. This side is newer to me, but I have been here for 4 years now, so
Okay.
I know some of the area.
And you're also located in Bishop's Waltham, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
both based on the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, we go by council boundaries. Quite a lot of people question why this is not covered by Waterlooville, but because it's council boundaries, we work the same way. So we're Winchester district, we're quite heavily linked, like Dawn obviously works out the city. We do actually quite a lot of, we're not just in Bishop's Waltham, there's a lot of nights on the colony, obviously not here, but in the city, so we do spend quite a lot of that time there as well, and in other areas too. So we mentioned rural crime earlier,
Right.
we do quite a lot of rural crime ops, and that's this entire Winchester district, so that's everything within Oxford Stations area, Bishop's Waltham Stations area, and the city, Winchester City, but we also go to Test Valley quite a lot and do the rural ops. So we are obviously based in Bishop's Waltham, cover, I think it's got about 30 villages that covers, but also we cover the wider district area, and sometimes obviously for rural stuff we combine with Test Valley as well.
Right. Well, good to meet. Sorry. Go on.
Sorry, you know the questions from earlier. The best people to ask is Steph and
Well
Jack.
timed.
So sorry, I can't answer some of the questions about
Excuse me.
offence and that, what's happening about the travellers on your beat area. Sorry. So are you able to maybe answer the ladies' questions
Can I just pick up on
afterwards?
Yeah.
just before the answer about the co-op? So I'm a resident, but I'm also a parish councillor, and I've heard, well, I know that the co-op on the Norton Road is now closing, and it's closing due to the ongoing rife nature of the theft, the shoplifting. The co-op can no longer sustain a whole shop. Now, we have a pretty dire bus service in Denmead. We have a high population of elderly people. If the co-op in Denmead, and I've seen people thieve from the co-op, and you go to the till and the manager will say, I know, we've caught them, we see it, we can't do anything, we have a zoo, we will not put our staff at risk. I do think, to pick up your point, Alex, there does need to be some greater education, and I think that's where the PCSO might be able to sort of encourage the co-op more, because if we lose our village co-op because of the thefts, we are, as a community, we are really not helping our elderly and vulnerable people, because people can't get to Waterlooville. They physically can't because of the buses. So it is very, very close. You know, we are, what is it, I don't know, half a mile. So I think that,
I have had engagement with the co-op before. I've actually been in there and prevented shoplifting before.
brilliant.
If we get a report, we'll follow it up and we'll deal with it. But
I've started to explain about Donna's UK PAC initiative and I'm working in the co-op, but it seems to be a bit of a knowledge gap between the co-op not being helping aware of the system and sort
they
of
don't
house.
even have to go for UK PAC. They can just make a report. We have Whiteley Shopping Centre in our area as well. I deal with shopliftings regularly. I've had some decent results from that. They just, if they report it, we'll deal with it.
So going back to that sort of basis, that point we had earlier, we have a lot of issues with the local co-ops. Bishop Waltham, for example, is the main one that we get a lot of shopliftings that we are starting to be made aware of, but haven't in the past. Co-op as a company don't believe that they lose a lot in some areas, so they don't report it. It doesn't mean that other areas are. Those areas should be reporting. They should be reporting in all areas. We're not getting those reports through from them, which is what we've said to them before, is you need to be reporting this, but they won't, because
Some
it's
have a
so
certain tolerance level, don't they? Each company has their own different tolerance levels for losses
And sometimes a lot of places, like from my old job, city centre, like Tesco's, Co-op, places like that would have security in the prominent times when the shoplifting would happen, to try and deter and prevent it from happening. So places like Boots, Co-op, Tesco's, the small shops sometimes hire out security just to try and stop a regular
They have had
regular
that before,
offenders
but they
and
have
that,
to share the security with other co-ops.
Yeah.
It's up to them how they
Yeah.
proceed.
Yeah.
But yeah, in these sort of rural
Sometimes
communities, you
that-
don't get quite so much.
Is there at all possible that you can have some sort of like dialogue and engagement with the co-op
They have had.
to prompt them, because I don't think they are doing it, and I think we're getting ever closer to the thought that that they might just decide that they're not going to have the shop in the village because it is really close that the other one has now gone. So I think the levels.
Conversations have been had, and I hold a beat surgery when I hold it in Denmead outside the co-op as well.
Yeah.
And I said I've been in there talking about shoplifting with before and preventing someone from doing it. They know the process and
Right.
It's not getting
Okay.
followed.
And sometimes shops can give out planning letters as well, like to stop them from
Right.
coming into the shop as well, because head office also has to shops have to also take ownership as well to try and prevent it as a partnership agency way as well, and reporting's key.
some
Key-
as well.
key
Some
factor.
companies they keep reports for a long time and then they have a different system and they're told not to report directly to us, some companies, and then by the time the report comes through to us for some shops, it's outside the prosecution window. So
Right.
we can't stop if people have policies. I don't know what their policy is, but there are various reasons why sometimes companies don't report to us or don't report to us in time. And some companies have the perception that we won't investigate anything under a certain
Value.
amount of money as well, but yeah, that's not the case.
That's changing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's changed a long time ago, but some people do still.
Changing again
But
recently, I
that's not
think.
necessarily a co-op issue, just in general.
Right, yeah. Okay. Before you came in, before I asked, and Neil, I know you had your hand up for questions. There was another question that I think Sue Ella asked earlier that I think you were going to park until maybe the officers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Oh,
Which has been going on for years. And when I've spoken to the manager there, doesn't seem to be aware of UK PAC, does report it, doesn't seem to get much response from the police. Is there anything you can do? I've now gone out, I've now Alexis, I've now allowed Now, Alex,
I know
I'm going to, on a mission to...
I know we have had
Just
reports,
thank
because Neighbourhood's not one of my villages.
Right.
I have actually gone and done CCTV on our rural police when they went on annual leave there, so they do know how to report. They have reported, and we have followed up when they have reported. So
Right.
they don't necessarily get the result they were after, but that will be because of evidential difficulties. So we don't do anything, investigate it. If we can't identify the suspect, it will be filed. So I don't know if that's the result there, but sometimes people think we're not doing something, when actually we're doing something, but we can't get the result they want, and then some, unfortunately, then give up because they think police aren't doing anything, but actually we'll investigate it to the best of our ability, and if there's no outcome,
But then this shopkeeper has been doing it on a daily basis with no arrest.
I think
And
there
then how
was
can he be allowed to...
there was
do that?
definitely somebody who was dealt with, not one that I dealt with recently, but there was, because there was someone being managed by another team who was regularly shoplifting there, and that individual definitely was dealt with.
So there's one,
because we
were
were
actually go to prison.
we were actually
and he's doing it.
proactive in saying to them, we need your CCTV, because another team was managing them. So they didn't report it to us. We said to them, we need to check. And we proactively, and when we have other teams, obviously we're neighbours, so we don't have all the same information as specialist teams do. But if we are aware of a prolific offender, then we will sometimes go to shops, and we have done it co-ops as well, to say this person, and Sainsbury's and all sorts of places. And it's also some of the petrol stations. But yeah, if we're aware of that, then our teams who manage offenders will actually approach rather than...
Right.
The other issue was the travellers on payment.
Yes, that's the other issue, wasn't it?
And whether there's any updates. Again, several of us in nutrition will have been working with local residents and Stuart Ross to try and bring them to what's become harassment, intimidation, obviously illegal encampments, which has gone on for some time now.
It's not something I know the answer to. I've not had any involvement
It's
in
a bit on our heads, I think, with those things.
Yeah,
In
because
terms of
the
that,
inspector-
Stu Ross is definitely, my respect is the one that has
Right.
managed more of it. We have had some actions on there with environmental health last month and the month before. We've gone on site and there's been a review of there's some illegal dump waste that they were looking at.
Yeah.
I was on site that day when they came there. They have to go off and do the report, which Stu Ross will be involved in. But in terms of us getting the report, it would come from first to them. But environmental health have been on there within the last month or so. And we did put a post out about that on social media. We were in the area before that, so it should be a record on there. As I said, if you go back to Stu Ross in terms of that,
And Chris, are you the name Bobby for Denver?
I am currently the name Bobby for this area, yeah.
Great.
I'm gonna-
Glad that you're here.
We have two additional
I'm your seat, you do.
Uh-oh. What, openly or privately, sir? Openly or privately?
As I said, my number is on. It is on Facebook. Yeah, it is on. Yeah. They can contact me. The only thing I will say is don't use my number as a report form because it's not always on. Use the numbers that we have, the report online and stuff. Any inquiries, leave me a voicemail and stuff like that, email, whatever it is, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Just, I've had a couple recently where people have tried to report crimes to me, obviously I haven't been on, my phone's off, I'm not there. They left me a voicemail and then 2 days later they got back to me and gone, well, I want to report that the other day. Not 24 hours,
Thank you.
but just to let people know.
Glad that you're here. Thank you.
You can get time off. Yeah.
I know that, Neil, you had a question or
Yeah, I
something.
had a couple of questions. Firstly, the car. I think part of the reason, as I understand it, is there is a perception that they're not proactive in bringing forward any kind of prosecutions, and I wonder whether the perception to the public is that it's a free for all for them, because when you go in, there's nothing to dissuade you from. There aren't any signs saying we prosecute, even if they don't. There's nothing that they're proactively doing to discourage, even if they don't physically. And I think that is part of the problem. Because I don't know whether they have. I know that I was reading the other day that nationally I think they lose about 80 million to shoplifting. I mean, it's a horrendous problem for them, and I can't see why they're not more proactive. But if there's a risk that we would lose them as a community asset, I think that you know, maybe as a community we should be putting a bit more pressure on them to do something about it.
Could I also add to that, my genuine concerns, especially going back to the one in Wickham, is that the knock-on effect this has for the community. Because this has been going on for so long, it's become the norm. And the villagers of Wickham expect it. They know it's going to happen every day, and they expect it. So, if the, and I understand that the manager of the co-op in Wickham has told his staff not to intervene. Not to intervene.
So it's definitely
So if the manager is unaware of the Hampshire Alert Scheme or whatever it may be that's there to support him, maybe the police or yourself, Alex, might need to be much more proactive and go in there and tell them face to face, because it has a knock-on effect, because other villagers say, well, people have said it to me, so-and-so is going in there every day and coming out with X, Y and Z.
But yeah, I'm happy to take that all away.
You know how these things
Yeah, I'm very happy to take that away. I mean, there's the difference between not intervening and not reporting, isn't it? So, don't really want to put their staff at risk to be, being attacked, whatever, and that's fair enough. But equally, there's a different message there to say, well, absolutely every single time this incident takes place, the police, speaking know about it, and obviously that's what Donna is trying to help facilitate for UK Impact Act. But actually, the police don't have intelligence, they can't act on it. So, it's really such an important part of the wider picture. So yes, we will take that away.
It's common knowledge in Wickham, that's what worries me, especially amongst the residents and especially the young people. Is this a role model that they should be copying?
If we're losing stores, if the co-op, nationally is taking stores away because they can't sustain the levels of things, that is significant impact onto rural life and the community as a whole, and it's not acceptable. So for me, it's not good enough that if they don't do it, your team, the police, everybody collectively has to put pressure on the co-op to do what Don was asking to do, to report in and to report to the police. It has to be much more of a collective area of pressure, because I, for one, as A, as a resident and B, as a parish councillor, I do not want to see the demise of the only one store where elderly people can get the community care bus to shop or to shop. We're not fortunate. We're not sort of a stone's throw from our stuff. We don't have anything else. The buses will shortly get worse. We all know that's coming. So this is really important. This is really important to collectively get behind, and not just one department choking its shoulders and saying it's to the other department. This is something that Donna needs to be much more robust about.
No, take that away. Yeah.
It's very difficult to police, although it's something that, like you say, word gets around. It's so easy to do. Just walk into
We
a
don't
shop.
want to be like Wickham, do we?
No, fully aware that retail outlets themselves have policies in place, which Daniel might be able to go further into, that stress that you do not interfere. You just let them walk out with what they've got. And I, for one, years ago when I used to work in retail, I would tackle people, and then they'd come back later in the day with knives and other people, and I thought, I've done it now, haven't I? So it's sometimes best just to say, do you know what? We've got insurance as a retail outlet. My life's more important, but what needs to be done is that these retail outlets need to then report and follow up so that the police can at least show a presence or
Excuse me.
It's very difficult. Yeah, and people know this, and they know they can get away with it. Just walk into a shop now, and who's going to stop them? Lawful goods.
The problem as well is though that when you look at our co-op in the village, the tills used to be across the front of the shop, so you had to walk past the tills to get out. Now our tills are at the side of the shop. Some of them, half of them now are self-service, so people just walk up to them, whether you scan anything or not.
But that's what you said in your part, Daniel. You said as soon as they brought in self-service, goods just go a couple of scans, show that you're doing something, and the rest, because there's no proper weighted scales as if you would get in Sainsbury's or Asda, where you sometimes can't get out the bag area. The co-op can't enforce that.
Okay.
Smaller outlets as well, so it is a problem.
No, it's a good debate. Sorry.
So one other thing is going back to the issue about travellers, is that I wonder whether there's any link between the problems that we're having and the message that's being put out by Winchester Planning about allowing, even recently, even though it's temporary planning, and there's another application coming through, and I think this issue is just going to get worse. And I think if we don't join the dots up, we've got a real problem.
Just to say, I am on Winchester Planning, and it's actually not Winchester Planning, it's the Planning Inspectorate.
Yeah.
Because all of the enforcement action that Winchester were doing on pony paddocks was taken to a planning inspector. They appealed the enforcement action because the planning was refused by the inspector, so Winchester enforced. The travellers appealed the enforcement action and the inspector granted the appeal. So Winchester's hands are tied. They wanted to do the enforcement but were not able to do so because the planning inspector granted the appeal. And that's why they then put the latest application in with a 5-year temporary plan. And so now all of those other 3 that are under enforcement are appealing their enforcement.
Of course they would.
action
Of course they
again.
would.
So it's down to planning inspectorate.
Good lawyers.
So it's
Alex, you mentioned 650 new recruits, policemen.
Yes.
How many's left?
I mean, overall number of police officers. So well, a question to test my memory. So, Hampshire Life Constabulary, you've got around about 3,000 paid payroll. Looking about right. I remember about half of those are officers. No.
So I'm just leaving to get
Not sure.
Very helpful.
Thank you, Sawyer. Thank you for taking the time. Good evening.
650 new recruits.
Yeah, so we know that'll be it. So it'll work. So it was 650. It's now been increased to the 800D, and that's over what it was when Donna took over business plan for 2021. So, but I top of my head, I can't exactly think of the overall number of police officers that you guys know. No.
I wouldn't know.
Every police officer I speak to says police leaving. So have you got statistics?
So I can tell you the average number of police officers that leave every month is 25.
25%.
So 25 police officers leave a month every month, and that's often because you usually do a 30-year.
Let's take last year then. How many police officers left last year?
Well, it's been average 25 a month times 12. My maths, so that's 300 officers would have left last year. But
so you're 350 less than, aren't you?
Yes, but the numbers are more police officers over the baseline. So it's increased overall officers. So it's replacing the officers that leave plus. So it's if you like, we need to recruit 350 officers every single year to maintain our current number. Donna is saying she wants to increase the overall numbers from where it was 2021 by 815. So she has to start the starting point is every single month she has to recruit 25 police officers just to break even, if you like. And
then 30 leave, you're 5 there, aren't you?
Yeah.
So
every
the actual number is getting less and less.
So the target number for every single month in Netley for training is 32 a cohort. And then you won't transfer on top of that. So in order to reach that 18 number, she has to hit 32 police officers starting every single month in a new cohort in Netley. That means you get essentially 7 months extra before you take any transfers in. So you will pick up transfers from our forces. So so we're working hard as we can do.
Yeah. She states at 650, right up to 50. She never states. Perhaps you.
Well, yeah, because there is always a natural.
report. How many is left?
Well, I just,
give the,
yeah, but it's the
every
thing
time,
is,
every time she's on the news,
yeah.
she says, oh, that's 650 new officers. But she never states how many's left.
Those figures were published.
But the thing is that the leaving numbers, the way it works out though is obviously any organisation people who come and go. So the naturally any organisation, someone retires, leaves, goes to a new job, and your overall headcount doesn't include people who have left because that's the natural churn of coming and going in any organisation. I don't know.
Do you?
Well, I told you, it's roughly about 300 a year that leave.
You're in the area for intimidation and harassment. You're
Antisocial behaviour.
Antisocial, I think.
does
Behaviour.
that include intimidation and harassment?
Can do. Harassment would normally fall. I deal with the low level antisocial
Yeah.
behaviour, but I also link in with the police quite a lot.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it's joint visit approach from tenancies, housing providers to try and sort out neighbourhood issues. So normally complaints would be environmental health. So yeah, so I deal with the low level, like kids on the roof
All right.
smoking cannabis. I can give out acceptable behaviour contracts. I can work with the police as well, and ask them to come along for a joint visit as well, and they've got them on their police national data record, so if it happens again, and then if their behaviour escalates further, then we can refer them to the youth offending team. So, but it's about getting early intervention early to try and put a stop to that escalating behaviour. So,
Where I live at Hambledon, in the countryside,
okay,
we've been intimidated and harassed by this one person. I kept reporting him on 101.
okay,
The last one went to Bishop Waltham and they referred it back to the triage at St Hampton. I had a phone call 2 days afterwards. Can't do anything about it. Is that good or bad?
I mean, I don't think you guys have else on this one.
I don't know the context of the incident at all. I don't know who you
A
spoke
very
to.
subjective question, is it? I mean, you'd be given a reason for why it hadn't been progressed.
This is something you reported last year, wasn't it? When you were in the meeting and you spoke to the officers then.
A couple of years ago, yeah. I was a different person now.
So,
It's a different person.
right. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's probably not something at this meeting you're putting people on the spot.
Yeah,
Can't
because
answer questions. It's probably best to speak to an officer out of context of this meeting, I think. If it's been going on for this long and now it's another person, that's probably your best course of action.
Sounds like a good
because mediation could be looked at and very soon.
Sorry?
If the decision is that it's been filed for whatever reason, we wouldn't be able to overturn that for you. You'd have to, you can make a complaint about that decision if you've got your reference number. If you haven't, you can call up and be given it, and then you can make a complaint about that and they can review it for you. But we can't overturn a decision that's been made by we're the same rank. We can't go in and change that decision.
Yeah, Alex said it should be an officer per village or.
So there's a name probably, so he's here.
That's me. I still can't change.
No, you can come visit.
I can come visit. Again, I look after so many villages. I don't just look after them made. It's when I can get time to do those sort of things. But obviously, if a decision's been made in an incident, I wouldn't be able to comment further on that without that being reviewed by someone in triage, and that's why you probably were referred to. But that's a solo incident.
Really getting out of hand now with some other people.
When you make a report, when it comes down, if it comes down to neighbourhood team, it will come to a PCSO, it will come to me, or it will come to Jack. For if it's a police officer. If it's been filed, then obviously it's not something we can then go and visit against that decision.
Is that something?
Yes.
It's a new incident. You may want to take it off. You may want to take it up specifically with Steph or Jack offline if you want. It sounds like it's a different.
It's not just intimidation.
No, I understand that, sir. But I mean, maybe while we got the benefit of these folks being here, it might be afterwards. No, that's great. Okay. Okay. So thank you. Any other questions, comments, observations before I sort of put a summary together? And, oh, sorry, Neil. Yes.
One comment that I know it's fantastic to see so many people here, and that the police have managed to be here, which I know is sometimes very difficult, and as it is with everybody. And I just wonder whether there's any mileage in looking at the option of doing partly online hybrid type meetings so people can drop in and out of it. I don't know what the view of the parish council or others would
Very,
be.
very difficult to chair a hybrid meeting, almost impossible.
Yeah.
They don't
Okay.
normally work.
And we had this discussion at the last council anyway, I think, Neil, to be fair. I think the last council but one even, and there was a big debate about whether it should be all Zoom or in person, and the decision at the time, and I'm glad that we made the decision, and rightly so, because I think tonight's attendance by both public and the speakers accordingly and the different services represented has been very positive, and it's been a good dialogue, I think. But I think that at the time the decision was made that a virtual meeting or a partial Zoom or Teams or whichever service that you use was not deemed to be sufficient or pertinent to the actual discussions and the dialogues necessary. And I think actually when you're in person like this, you get a better level of dialogue and a better level. And I think that even with testimony tonight, we've had 13 or 14 total members tonight, with some new members and older members as well. And for me, for one of my summing up statements was going to be the fact is that we were thinking about if the turnout this evening was going to be very, very low, which was a concern that we had because in the past it has been low, then we would need to seriously consider what we need to do moving forward for the Safer Neighbourhood panel. But from my perspective, and I listened and take your inputs, all of them accordingly. I think this has been quite a good dialogue, and the fact is that we've had lots of different people from all different services and positions, both in Winchester and Suella and the police officers as well, and members of the public. I think it's actually been quite a good dialogue, and I think there's a couple of key actions that, yes, I'm sure that we've got some good minutes on those, but I think you've got a pretty good clear statement in terms of some of the hot topics in terms of whether it be the co-op or the travellers and or anything else specifically that's been raised. So I, for one, Neil, think that in person is far, far better. And if we can make that work, which I think we can demonstrate tonight we have, versus virtual, I think that's the way to go. So, sorry, sir.
Thank you. Can I just have one little observation about when Steph comes to the surgery outside the car? Is it really the best place to have it out in the open air? When it's cold and windy, maybe it's not.
When I hold surgeries, people don't attend them specifically to see me, which is why I go to the busiest place in the village. So most of my interactions are people seeing me by chance.
Yeah. Yes.
By line of sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they'll
You
probably
mean they don't make an appointment to come see you? They just.
No, it's very rare when you
yes.
book repeat surgery anywhere that someone, it does happen sometimes, very occasional. So if I was to put it in a village hall somewhere, I'd probably sit and speak to myself.
It's visual presence.
Yeah.
Absolutely, visual presence is powerful.
So people be like, oh, police, I have something to ask you actually. Because they
Yeah.
don't necessarily, because if they've got something to tell us, they'll probably cut the phone anyway. That's just my experience.
Yeah.
It does happen, but it's not.
I feel sorry for you stuck there.
I'm alright.
Just give her an umbrella.
Or it will detract these shoplifters from the co-op, won't it?
Yeah.
That's a good point, yeah.
Choose cafes outside, you'll be alright.
We have a plethora of cafes. So, Ian, sorry.
Do I take it then that the council will pledge to continue with the Safer Neighbourhood panel?
I think the recommendation is certainly that we should continue, absolutely.
And will it go back to being the normal chair that normally chairs this meeting, as in the highway
Depending on the dates and availability of the chairs, absolutely. Unfortunately, they were out. I know that Councillor Clay joined us later this evening, but my recommendation back to the parish on the full council is that we should definitely continue with the Safer Neighbourhood panel, and I think the timeliness I think it's every 6 months currently, and I think we need to look at that.
That would be my point. This committee reports back to highway, it doesn't report back.
I understand that. But let's take it back and discuss accordingly. But yeah, I think we also need to look at the regularity of it as well, and the timing of it. Is 6 months the right number? I don't know. Should it be less frequent or more frequent? I don't know. I certainly bow to a lot of the feedback from the experts here, depending on what's going on. With all the things going on in the village in most shapes and forms, and there's obviously newness of some of the members as well. I think it's important to get feedback from those folks as well as to whether it should be less or more frequent. So yeah.
I would just say,
Excuse me.
if you are going to continue with it, that it does need to be advertised an awful lot more, because here we've got 13 officials and we've got 4 members of the public.
Mm-hmm.
So
2 of those are not actually from this village.
yeah.
Yeah, your point's valid. It was advertised 3 or 4 times, I think, wasn't it, in total, I think. So we can only advertise what we can advertise. But I think it could have been on some more social... Sorry?
The weather probably put them off.
It may have done, I don't know. But yeah, point valid in terms of
There has
advertising.
been times where
Yeah.
we've turned up
Yeah.
and it's just been councillors.
Yeah.
It's great to see other people here this evening. Fully appreciate everyone has time commitments,
Sure.
etc. But it is a time commitment for everybody.
Absolutely.
And when you've only got 4 members of the public,
Yeah.
is
I think it was actually the last meeting, right, which was why it got brought back to council, was whether it was to be continued or not, because I think there was 1 member of public last time.
Well,
I
I
think
think
we
we've...
have to, I think, Daniel and I are here with councillors on the highways committee, and I think that we need to build on little wins, and I think we should continue to do it, and you say, be more proactive in our social media in promoting it, but I don't think there's a reason to. I think we have to build on, what has been a positive meeting today and take that forward into the future.
Put an advert in the co-op.
Yeah, exactly.
Big banner in the co-op.
Well, we have.
Maybe when Steph's standing outside next time, she can advertise the next meeting for us. Just joking.
I think
Sorry.
we just have to consolidate on the success
Yeah,
and
agreed.
build on it.
No.
And not,
Absolutely.
and I seconded your nomination at Highways that there were some people that didn't want to continue with it, but I seconded it, and I think it was the right way forward. So
Absolutely. I'm
we
glad
have
that we
to-
did that.
We have to move forward with it in smaller steps.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments before I bring the meeting to a close then?
just need to set the policing priorities as per the agenda.
Beg your pardon. Setting of the policing priorities for Denby. At the last meeting, it was decided there weren't enough attendees to do this, so it was deferred.
It was actually that the police weren't in attendance.
The police weren't in attendance,
That's why the priorities weren't set.
so they weren't in. I don't know whether you had a chance to sitting on the agenda, but in terms of the policing priorities, I don't know whether you've got any comments that you'd like to make, or whether it's. Sorry, there's 2. Sorry, I couldn't say. Sorry.
They are normally set by
Yeah.
villagers.
Yeah. And then relayed back.
Consultation
Yeah.
with police.
Yeah.
We obviously didn't change them last time because of.
Well, I got a copy of what was agreed last
So
time.
it's antisocial behaviour in Ashling Park,
Yep.
speeding, and inconsiderate parking around schools.
I think probably because we don't actually enforce parking, rural crime might be a better one for that. But ASB sounds reasonable. What's the other one you said, sorry?
Speeding.
Speeding.
I think as a result of that, we had
I think it was
speed
speeding and
camera
fly
down Forest
tipping
Road.
actually was the one
You
from
say
last
the
time.
speed camera, does this van come down?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
Always, they stand over gun.
We haven't had that for ages.
that's not something. I mean, you can have it as a policing process, but it wouldn't be our department doing that. We do have a speed gun, but if we haven't got any neighbourhood policing incidents to deal with, then we'll do that as a secondary role if there's no crimes to investigate for us. So that's not like that will never be our priority because we get the harassment, the shopliftings, the assaults,
Right.
thefts.
I think the shoplifting has been a big debate this
Yeah.
evening. I think that's by the sounds of it, and I think to a couple of comments regarding the longevity of the hopefully the co-op and other stores accordingly. I think shoplifting probably would be ill.
Does the or is there a flyer coming out about this system for reporting for shops? So
Should be allowed.
just thinking it would be a good thing to have
All shops.
Drop into all shops in all villages effectively. I'm not saying that you should, but
Yeah, so I know you need to pack in terms of the conversation with them the last couple of months is really to increase our marketing. So that we're taking that away and working on how we can improve their marketing for media packs without more. So
Excuse me.
the answer is yes. Hopefully we get a build a package around, bit of emails to shops, to flyers, digital online stuff. So
it seems it's something that needs to be done very soon. Because if you've launched a system, that people can report stuff, and there's obviously a big report on crime or thefts this evening.
Yeah, but particularly with the co-op, I think I know that because Swell actually raised that directly with John. There is going to be try to work closely with the co-op because actually this is their system as well. So
I can understand that. The co-op is just one franchise. We've got many other shops in the village that probably also.
A flyer for all the shops, not just a co-op.
Yeah,
right? I think is your point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I would like you to take back to Donna very clearly that a co-op has closed because of and I want that message to hear that loud and clear because that affects communities.
Yeah.
And that's not acceptable.
Absolutely. I'll when I see her tomorrow, I'll absolutely.
Thank you.
So going back. Sorry, Christine. So going back to the policing priorities then. So last meeting, I beg your pardon, back in April, the three that were specifically called out was antisocial in Ashland Park, speeding, and inconsiderate parking near the schools. I think the speeding issue, I think, is something that is a constant theme, as well as the. I think we talked about the police van camera or whatever it was, and we also mentioned earlier about the speed watch devices, as well as the new monitoring of the priority points on Forest Road as well. So all those things together, I think, probably justify or qualify being a priority for speeding. Unless anyone else has got any other comments on that, I'm not so sure. And I look for input and for guidance from the audience members here in terms of inconsiderate parking near schools. We haven't seen or heard anything specifically, or hasn't come to any of our attentions. But nothing's been raised. When you say I haven't seen anything that's been raised certainly in the last 3, 4, 4 months.
One of the last meetings.
Is it? Okay. Well, I beg to differ then. I don't know. I haven't seen that in, so I couldn't comment.
So from damage to grass verges and things because of people parking on.
Well, perhaps would they need to take another look at that then, because nothing's been physically logged with the parish. So I'm happy to look at it, or in terms of adding that back in, and then from. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah. So we do have a problem where
I beg your
parents perhaps will drop off or pick up kids and they bump up on the curbs, etc. And they damage
parking is it can never be a policing priority because we don't enforce it.
I understand.
It may be a priority for Demi that's important to you, but we're not the agency that can solve that problem.
Got it. Okay.
On the other side of that, though, if there was a presence at various times around schooling hours, then
that's just not sustainable.
It is a capital.
Important
capital.
Is that a Winchester antisocial behaviour thing?
I'll have to ask, sorry.
Could be.
What I could maybe suggest is speaking to the school about putting a generic letter out to all parents.
They do that on a regular
Do they do that?
I've written letters for them before.
Yeah.
It's just such a shame because then the verges need resources to maintain them for the damages that occur. And sometimes that's an expense to the parish council, isn't it?
This is the worst. It's here all the time. It never goes away. It's Hampshire Highways, not parish.
With you.
Hampshire, yeah.
I don't think I would be responsible for parking issues, neither mine.
Right.
Well, I was just in terms of just as a experience of me when I was councillor down in Havant, there was a big issue of grass parking on outside the football stadium in Westleigh. Hampshire are now enforcing that very actively on match days. So it's probably a conversation if you really want to get it enforced to Hampshire County Council, because they're the ones that will take action. And all I'll say is it could potentially be obviously unpopular in terms of its school parents. But if it's something you want taking enforcement action on, they are always looking to raise money because they need money, don't they? So,
Hampshire would not be able to enforce it
No.
every day of the year.
No.
It's totally under the question. We've
Well,
got 700 schools.
I reach that point, but if it's genuine enforcement thing to do, like for instance, the football club in Havant, they know they play on match days on a weekday on a Saturday, and they go and they make sure they go down to that Grove Verge, Ross Burgess every single Saturday, and every single club apart from Ross Burgess, as Paul said, is always fine without fail every single Saturday.
School, every day is match day.
Well, that's it. But equally, it wouldn't take very many times, would it, to do the fining before? But that's not matter for me. I'm not going to pick that. As you say, that's a matter for the council. I'm not going to go on World Council matters. I'm well clear
But
about
I
it.
tend to agree with you, Alex, because Havant is quite robust in its enforcement.
But it's Hampshire. It's still Hampshire. It's not
But
Havant.
Havant and you've only got to drop a little piece of litter in Havant, and there are visible enforcement officers. So and things do get done because people do get fined. So there is something to go to the county council and say this is.
Well, we could take a look at
an ongoing issue. Is there anything
If you
are you
want,
able to enforce?
if you want to write to me in my official address, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's worth it.
So
Isn't
I
it?
don't think we'll get very far.
But we can try, can't we?
We can contribute. Sorry, Ian.
Seeing as we don't seem to have three, I would see
I haven't finished yet.
it as
Okay, carry on. Sorry.
I would propose or put forward that we only put forward the antisocial behaviour in Ashton Park, because it's been said that the other two things, although they've been policing priorities for many years, are not something that's enforceable. So it's pretty pointless in being there. So
They're not the
Rural crime and shoplifting.
yes, so
Yeah.
those two then.
Three, antisocial behaviour, rural crime and shoplifting.
Right. Okay. So that
That's the
makes
three.
it then.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought you were going to say something else in terms
I was,
of.
but
Oh, okay. Yeah.
My memory goes.
Right.
being
Okay.
a councillor for many
Okay.
years, it always goes.
We've got those, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, can I
Sorry.
just say then, so if one of the priorities is the antisocial behaviour in Ashling Park, that falls within your remit? Because
That's a joint approach with police
because
as well.
we have a lot of people that come to parish council meetings and it is about the antisocial behaviour, the low grade drug taking, like the trail bikes, all of those things. So that I do think that does need to be considered as a priority, and if that falls within your remit, to have a presence there, or it's either joint or something.
Well, what I would normally do would liaise with the neighbourhood and see how many reports they get from members of the public, because that will draw your resources there. If there's a problem.
Two. Neighbourhood.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we've had to remove benches recently because
Yeah.
of situations.
There are people using e-bikes on the grass as well, and turn them
Bikes
out.
would be more.
Me and the other designated neighbours are actually working on the other side of the patch. We actually deployed to one of those incidents recently, but they were gone by the time we got there.
Yeah, that is very nature, isn't it?
We were only able to do them when they came in.
Yeah, it's they get.
That's the main. Sorry, Christine. That's the main thing. As soon as they hear sirens, they're
Well,
on.
we didn't touch it, it wasn't
Yeah.
a great
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, so it's only a
But normally, as soon as they hear sirens, they're on.
Normally you can tell with drinking patterns how many people report and times to where it's predominantly needed, resources are needed.
Okay.
That's fine, thank you.
Ian, and then we'll sum up.
Can I just, instead of it just being Ashton Park, can we have Kidmore Lane, the parish council own? We've had break-ins up there in council containers, and there is quite often youth that go up there because we find stuff when we go to archery, about in the field and trees moved and they climb on containers and things like that. So
Give
As
more,
a whole,
yeah.
as a whole area.
Yeah. Okay.
Drug taking.
Good,
it's
yeah.
keep all them sorts out.
Good point. Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Well, first of all, thank you everybody for this evening. It's been certainly for me an education and enlightening, and thank you for the people that have made a special trip to join us this evening, and appreciate you guys as well coming in a little later than planned, but much appreciated. It's good to see you and put a name to the face and a face to the name. I think the last action on the agenda is date of the next meeting. On the basis that the Highways Council accordingly, but I would ask people to reserve the 23rd of April, which is a Thursday. I've checked, and if we go for a 6 monthly, if we decide, or the Highways folks decide that we need to do something sooner, I think the point earlier about advertising it and making it more prevalent, I think is a good point, and I think we need to do a better job of that. Absolutely.
Utilise some of the community.
I think we. I was just about to say the community groups can play a bigger role. But yeah, this has been a very useful evening, and I hope that you've all benefited and enjoyed it. So thank you very much indeed, and have a good rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, David.